The data show an abrupt drop in trade between the UK and the European Union in the first month in which the new trade relationship was applied. But in Portugal, this impact was even greater. From one month to the next, the United Kingdom left the European single market and the customs union, ceasing to benefit from the free trade in goods that it enjoyed when it was in the European Union. Although tariffs and quotas have been avoided, new trade barriers are affecting trade between the United Kingdom and other European countries, including Portugal. New only in this case, they are old trade barriers for third countries. January data, the first month with the new applying rules, are beginning to show this impact. The number of international trade in goods from Portugal in January undoubtedly shows a sharp break in the commercial relationship with the United Kingdom, more in imports than in exports. The purchase of British goods fell 86% year-on-year, while the sale of Portuguese goods to the United Kingdom fell 13.5%. Both variations are above the values recorded in total. For exports, minus 9.8% and for imports, minus 17.2% in January 2021 compared to January 2020. That's because of Corona. This was the biggest monthly fall in imports from the United Kingdom since the National Statistics Institute has recorded. And in practice, it means that Portugal bought 161 million euros less in British goods compared to the same month last year, so the period before the pandemic. In the case of national exports, the fall was 40 million euros. Focusing on imports, all types of goods suffered a fall without exceptions, but there are some categories with greater weight, such as mineral products, chemicals, transport materials, cars for example, and machines and devices. In these four main categories of goods that Portugal bought from the United Kingdom, the drop was over 80%. This unprecedented drop occurred in a similar way in other European countries. The Eurostat has released the international trade of goods data relating to January 2021, and these show a reduction of EU imports from the United Kingdom of 59.5%. Below that, the registered in Portugal, from 15,800 million euros in January 2020 to 6.4 billion euros in January 2021. European exports to the United Kingdom decreased by 27.4%. It is also possible to see the figures from the perspective of the United Kingdom. According to the British Statistics Office, exports from the United Kingdom to the European Union, which according to Eurostat are imports originating in the United Kingdom, fell 40.7% in January, the biggest monthly fall on record. United Kingdom imports, EU exports to the British territory, shrank 28.8%. On average, the drop was half that recorded for Portugal. January 2021 marks a turning point with the end of the Brexit transition period and the entry into force after a last-minute agreement of a new trade relationship between the United Kingdom and the European Union. The country led by Boris Johnson ceased to be part of the single market and the customs union, and, despite not being the target of tariffs or quotas, British goods and European goods when they go to the United Kingdom now have new barriers in bureaucracy and checks, which has led to increased costs for companies and national and European authorities. But this is not the only factor to take into account when interpreting these data. First of all, there are statistical impacts of the exit, with the British Statistics Office explaining that the information source has changed. And also for this reason, they say that to understand the impacts of the exit from the European Union, it is not possible to analyze only the movements of the trade data of just 1 month. It is necessary to make an analysis over a longer period of time. Yes, of course, we will have a look at the longer time data, but it is interesting still. In addition, both Portugal and the United Kingdom began severe confinement in January, which will have influenced trade between the two countries. In addition, it's not possible to exclude the postponement by the purchasing companies to the United Kingdom due to bureaucratic or procedural difficulties at an initial moment when the rules change, with this effect to be eased in the coming months. This fear also led many companies to anticipate orders in December, accumulating stocks to avoid possible supply problems in the first days of applying the new trade agreement. And another factor to take into account is the control carried out in the English Channel at the end of December because of the new British variant, which also created disruptions in trade between the UK and the EU with huge queues. On the UK side, as this article in The Guardian reports that I've read, companies continue to complain about the confusion and delays with the British government failing to recruit 30,000 customs brokers needed for this new reality. The minister in charge of relations with the EU, Lord Frost, explained that there was a unique combination of factors that led inevitably to unusual numbers in January, but guaranteed that this effect will start to dissipate. These disruptions are expected to continue at least until summer. But once again, I just want to stress one point. Of course, there will have been more kerfuffle because in January everything was new for the people. And especially many British companies have not prepared properly for this because they were not getting proper information from the government or help by the government. And on the other hand, of course, the pandemic has an influence on trade. But it is decisive that wherever you look, the numbers from EU countries trading with the UK and the drop is much higher than the numbers of trade with any other country on this planet. And all countries are affected by Brexit, not by Brexit, by the pandemic. And the same goes for the UK. They have a drop everywhere, like any other country does. But the drops in their trade with EU member states are much higher than the drops in any other trade. And so the pandemic is not the reason for these high numbers. If you count out the pandemic, which affects every country, there still is a big loss on trade to and from the UK because of Brexit. And with the rest of the world, it still hasn't changed that. Canada has now ratified the copy and paste, as I call it, interim post-Brexit free trade agreement with the UK that will allow the two countries to continue trading virtually tariff-free while Ottawa and London work on a more permanent trade deal, International Trade Minister Mary Nick announced on Friday. The Canada-United Kingdom Trade Continuity Agreement, another TCA, is similar to the terms of the free trade deal Canada signed with the European Union just before Brexit. As I said, it's another copy and paste deal. There is no original UK deal so far. The UK is Canada's second largest service trading partner according to federal statistics. The value of bilateral trade and services between the UK and Canada amounts to over $14.5 billion, of which Canadian exports account for almost $7.1 billion. The interim trade deal will provide Canadian exporters and businesses with continued preferential access to the UK market, and 98% of Canadian products will continue to be exported to the UK tariff-free, Nick said. Canada and the UK are taking all necessary steps required to implement the agreement for April 1st, she said. Canada and the United Kingdom share a unique and historic relationship, Nick said in a statement. And she said, as we continue to address the pandemic and look ahead, international trade will be essential to ensuring a strong, inclusive recovery that generates growth and creates good jobs and prosperity for Canadians. Following Brexit, the Canada-UK trade relationship has been governed by a memorandum of understanding, which provides reciprocal tariff preferences on goods shipped between both countries until the Canada-UK Trade Continuity Agreement is ratified and implemented. And as I said on the Zimbabwe one, I'm still waiting for one generic UK trade agreement that is not stolen copy and paste text from the EU. If you find one, please tell me. I haven't found one yet. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.